Hi, and welcome to a Jim2 training video. Today, we'll be taking a look at tax codes in Jim2 and performing a GST session. To perform these functions, you will need access to the following: security access to accounts and GST sessions, and knowledge of accounting and BAS or BAS statements. Before you complete a GST session, you must first understand the tax codes used in Jim2. These can be found in Tools, Setups, Accounting, Tax Codes. You should not need to edit these as they're included as standard in Jim2. Tax Code X. This code is used when there's no need to charge GST and there is no need to include the entry on a BAS statement. There are several uses for this code, including transferring funds between bank accounts, liability accounts, equity accounts, payments to the ATO, superannuation funds, and lots more. Tax Code N. This code is used when there is no need to charge GST, but you do have to include it on a BAS statement. Common uses of this code can include some expense accounts, some staff amenities, the sale of items that are GST exempt, and invoices from suppliers who have an ABN but are not registered for GST. Other tax codes. Tax Code E is a sales-only GST designation for export revenue only. Tax Code G is used on all transactions which incur GST. Tax Code C is used on the purchase of fixed assets. Tax Code P is used for gross wages on payroll general journals, so the figures report into W1 in GST sessions. Tax Code Q is used for PAYG withheld from wages on payroll general journals, so the figures report into W2 in GST sessions, but should never be used when paying the ATO, or the amount will be deducted from W2. Tax Code Y is used on bulk GST payments to a customs agent on imports. For easy reference in between tax codes in Jim2 and the field location on the BAS, there is a table located in the help file article titled Tax Codes, which I've included a link for below. Each general ledger account can have a tax code set against it as a default. This means that whenever an entry is added to that GL account, it will automatically receive that tax code. GST session accrual method. To access the GST sessions, click Accounts and then GST session. This screen will default to the current GST. You can find previous sessions by clicking GST session and either typing in a number or using the drop-down to select it. You must ensure that the date range you have selected is correct for the period you wish to complete, and always ensure that the previous GST session has been reconciled before you start the next one. You will find several tabs between the filters and the lines that you're going to reconcile. Worksheet will show you a preview of the totals when you have selected transactions. Sales will list all the sales and income related transactions that have not yet been reconciled. Purchases will show all the purchases and expense entries. PAYG will show all the payroll entries, that is, where tax codes P and Q have been used. And by tax groups all selected entries according to how they report in the worksheet. I will also highlight that any records that fall within the selected date range will appear in black text. To start, we'll click Edit, click Select All, and then select all types, and then Save. All entries that have been selected to be reconciled will have a green background and a tick in the Rec column. If we go to the Worksheet tab, we must tick Show Partly Reconciled Only, as this will allow the selections we made in the Sales tab to show in the worksheet. The totals that appear in the worksheet will be related to reportable tax codes, that is G, N, E, C, and very occasionally I. The figure in the G1 field includes all sales and income entries with the reportable tax code G, E, or N, including GST. Any sale to overseas customers, that is, any sale using tax code E, will report into the G2 field. Any sales of products that are not subject to GST, that is, using tax code N, will report into the G3 field. G6 and G8 will show totals for the sales section, and G9 will show the calculated amount of GST based on the figure in G8. G10 will show any uses of the tax code C for capital expenses. And G11 will show all other expenses and purchases that use a reportable code, those being G or N. G14 will show the total of entries that use tax code N. This is important to note as it is a reportable code even though it is tax-free. G17 and G19 will show subtotals of the entries above, and G20 will show the GST component of the figure in G19. In other words, this is the GST you are claiming back in this session. W1 will show the total wages for the period you are reporting, and W2 will show the amount of tax withheld from those wages. These figures will draw from entries with a tax code P or Q. These figures should be checked against your payroll system for accuracy. The summary area will show the summary of the above information with the exceptions of 5A and 6A. These two fields are input fields, so you can log onto the ATO, find the information regarding the payee income tax installment and the fringe benefit tax installment information respectively, and then enter those figures into these fields. Although these figures need to be sourced or calculated outside of Jim2, by entering them onto the worksheet, you can collect all related information to be presented together. The By Tax tab allows you to see all of the selected entries sorted into the GST type and then the tax code. This is a great way to see all the entries that are going to be reconciled to ensure that they're accurate. What you are looking to do when in the By Tax tab is to examine any tax-free, non-reportable, or otherwise unusual entries to determine that the correct tax code was used, and that the entry is showing in the correct area. You should ensure that all entries have the correct tax code. However, some areas are more prone to issues than others. These are generally the transactions that are non-reportable or that are GST free. When you have checked each section, it's a good idea to use the caret located next to the GST or tax type to minimize the section and hide the information. While looking at each section, you're able to right-click and then select View to access the record related to the entry. By doing this, you can confirm that individual entries are using the correct tax code and are appropriate to the area they're being reported in. Remember, when unprinting any object in Jim2, you are effectively creating a new entry. But this new entry is not yet selected in the GST session. To correct this, the easiest way is to complete all of your changes and then unselect all and then all types, press save, and then select all types, and press save. After you have confirmed that all transactions have used the correct tax code and that you've selected all appropriate transactions, you can then press Edit and click Reconcile. Then click Yes. This will complete the GST session. If you need to remove the GST session, you can simply click Delete, which you will find in the bottom right corner of the window. After you've completed your checks and reconciled the entries, you can then export the information from Jim2 in two ways. First, ensure that you have the correct GST session selected. If you would like a report that has the same information as the Worksheet tab, in the Report drop-down, select GST Calculation Worksheet. If you or your accountant needs more detailed information, you can go to the By Tax tab, right-click and select Export Data. Thanks for watching.